Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Elash Lewiński. With Friday's high-level talks between Trump and Putin rapidly approaching, speculations continue to arise as to the meeting's possible outcome. Can Trump's art of the deal attitude bring a just peace in Ukraine? Is the US president still frustrated with Putin? Or will grand ambitions to craft a new world order prevail, even at the expense of America's allies? Joining us now is Małgorzata Zawadka, former Polish media correspondent in the United States. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
So what are your expectations of this summit?
Oh, wow. My expectations is for Trump not to make a fool of himself and not to make a fool of America, the way he did in Helsinki. I'm sorry for this harsh language, but of course half of America is saying that that he has a weak spot for Vladimir Putin. Of course, his latest talks, his latest opinions about Putin indicated that maybe he's run out of attention. His idealistic view of Vladimir Putin as his friend and someone he could actually make a deal is, the reality is showing that Putin is someone he has completely no idea what is in his head. So right now, I'm cautiously optimistic. It's not that I'm really scared. I'm actually cautiously optimistic because of what happened in Europe and actually in Europe for the last, since, Donald Trump threw out Zelensky from White House, right? Europe really stood behind Zelensky. Europe kind of awakened, started the rearm itself. We have this, additional budget of close to 800 million euros. So with all of it, the meeting between Trump and Putin can actually go much better for Europe than it would have has it happened like 6 months ago.
But do you think it's just a Trump problem, or is it a broader problem with the US not actually knowing how to deal with Russia? I mean, 2014, the Obama administration, Russia attacked Ukraine, not much really happened. Later on, we had the Biden administration facing up to Putin in 2022. There were responses, and Ukraine did receive weapons, but many said, well, that was not enough. Ukraine could have actually done much better had it received more weapons from the US. Do you think that it's a lack of strategy on the part of the West in general?
To be honest, I think it's Europe's fault most of all, right? Because Europe has proven to take how many years it did not arm itself. It relied on American, nuclear umbrella and American army.
And Russian fossil fuels.
And Russian fossil fuels. And it came to the point when Americans said, we don't want to die for Europe. And they never wanted to. So I am not a fan of Donald Trump. I never hide it that I really think that his presidency started a lot of very dangerous trends in the world. However, I do think that his irritation with Europe and irritation with Germany, France, UK, that they do not want to spend more on arms, is he has a point. So for now, all his actions, they are actually making Europe, you could say, stronger, right? Because Europeans kind of gathered themselves and say, okay, we cannot sleep any longer. We have to face the fact that
so
America is not our big brother who wants to take care of us. America is another country who has its own problems.
So now commentators are saying that there is a risk we might be seeing a new Munich conference or a new Yalta. Do you think that this is a bit much, or are these fears justified?
The fears are justified. I hope, as I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I hope that Donald Trump, he gained experience from when he was the president in 2016, obviously in love with Putin, liking him for probably helping him to win election. So I think Trump
These allegations have not been confirmed in a capacity that would make it possible to say, okay, this is definitely what happened, right? I mean,
but we know that because of what's going on in the media sphere, right? That was Facebook, with like social media. There is so much Russian propaganda.
Still
Russia is winning the war, the informational war in the media sphere. So there is no proof, but of course, Brexit and Donald Trump winning and this right-wing sympathies for so many people, and I mean, Russians has their fingers in it.
Would you say that Russia is basically promoting chaos? And if there is any change that's unpredictable, no matter if it goes to the left or to the right, but if it actually upsets the existing order, that is going to be something that Russia will actually be supporting because it plays into their hands.
Of course, and that's what they are doing. However, Donald Trump, for the last, I would say, since he became a president, is proving that he is actually not afraid of chaos, and he might, you know, he is a bigger fish to swim in this chaos. So part of his negotiations, obviously, is to show everyone actually right now that he is a disruptor, he is someone who is crazy enough to do something that we do not expect him to do. So those are his negotiation tactics. Right now, when you know those tactics are actually scaring Europe, and they did scare Europe into really, you know, saying that yes, we will arm themselves, we will treat the threats seriously, right? We will not have the free ride. So for now, it worked on Europe. Now we will see if it will work on Russia.
According to the Financial Times, they actually spoke to Mr. Eric Rubin, former U.S. ambassador in Bulgaria, and he said that right now Trump doesn't really have any advisors who are specializing in Russia and Ukraine. Do you think there is a risk that instead of relying on expert opinion, Trump will simply conduct these negotiations in an emotional way? These are going to be one-on-one talks, right?
Of course,
so that this is going to be something agreed between the leaders and not between the state apparatus of the US and state apparatus of Russia. It's just going to be the sort of individual approach. What risks are associated?
First of all, Trump takes everything personally, right? Everything is personal for him. That's what he always tells, that he does business personal, that he does business on intuition. Putin is not a businessman. Putin is a psychopath who wants to, like, he doesn't care about lives. What Trump is saying all the time is that I want to stop killing, right? He like underlines all the time, I want to stop these Russian soldiers the death of Russians and Ukrainians. Putin couldn't care less. We know it. Putin doesn't care about his own nation. So probably Trump, you see, it's easy for us to say this. However, because everyone is saying that Trump doesn't know whom he's dealing with. Of course, Trump did speak to Putin. Trump, maybe he became an expert on Putin. I'm just saying, hopefully, right? He is really aggravated right now that Putin made fool out of himself few times, right? Because whatever Trump was saying, that I will end the war, that I will befriend Putin, Putin proves Trump to be weak. And
Putin
not
keeps
really
escalating, right?
So right
which way
now,
do you think these talks could go?
So right now, as I said, Trump, whose ego is gigantic right now, who has a real power, right? Because Trump does have a leverage. America is a superpower. So right
economic
now,
leverage as well. He threatened to use it, but hasn't done so yet.
And what I think also, and I really think that Europe did do its part for the last 6 months after the Zelensky-Trump meeting in Washington, that Europe stood very firmly behind Zelensky and actually also trying to befriend Trump. We never had it in public sphere, that Trump was actually, we had Mark Rutte, we had Friedrich Merz, we had Keir Starmer, who are actually saying, Mr. Trump will love you, you are the best, you are the one to tell us what to do with Putin. So I think this massaging Trump for the last few months from the leaders of Europe might actually work. The danger is that, as you said, that Trump is a person who acts on instinct. So what will happen when they will sit, both of them, in the room alone? And we know that Trump was waiting for this meeting since 2018, actually, when they met when they met in Helsinki.
So what could happen? There is talk about possible concessions. There is talk about lifting sanctions on Russia, which, of course, European countries, especially Poland, are not going to look favorably upon. Again, there is talk of trading territories. And finally, there have been reports quite recently that what could be on the table is access to rare earth minerals in the Russian-occupied parts of Ukraine for Russia, which of course is not confirmed yet. On the other hand, reports that the US might be participating in some sort of security guarantees for Ukraine. No specifics yet.
So everything
what is likely to emerge from all
everything
this?
you said could happen, right? What we are really afraid of, that we could see a new partnership that we won't even know between Putin and Trump. Because here we have in Alaska two real men talking about real world problems. Maybe we will see the birth of the new Russian-American strategy. This is the worst strategic partnership, right?
What if Putin says, Mr. Trump, I would like to create a new security order, but we would need NATO forces to be pulled back from the eastern flank. This was what Russia was actually mentioning at the start of the war in Ukraine.
Actually, they were mentioning since 1997.
Yes. Do you think there is a risk that Trump could agree to this?
Honestly, I don't. I don't see, of course, he's unpredictable. We might see it that Trump will say, yes, Vladimir, I understand. You have your, powers. I have mine. So let's just divide the world. But I hope it will not happen. Another bad thing that could happen is that Trump could wash his hands off, right? Trump could say, okay, I'm irritated, I have enough, Zelensky is not accepting whatever we want him to offer.
But walking away from the peace process. But what if the US still sells weapons to Europeans and Europeans provide them to Ukraine, and basically the US is not pushing for a peace deal? For some, it could be a change, perhaps not for the better, but at least the removal of the unpredictable factor.
Well, I think what will emerge from this meeting, we could hope for another meeting with Zelensky and Trump and Putin, because I hope that what we will see right now is just the beginning of the process. And we will see because we also get a contradictory statements from Ukraine, right? Zelensky in the morning, he says, yes, we are ready for land concessions. Few hours later, they say, no way. The land swapping is actually a human life swapping. We say, from one hand, we hear Ukraine officials say, no, we will fight to the end. Whatever you decide between Putin and Trump, our people on the land will decide because they are ready to fight. On the other hand, we see the polls that say that 69% of Ukrainians want the war to end.
And indeed, Trump said that he wants the meeting involving President Zelensky to take place as soon as possible after the meeting in Alaska. Małgorzata Zawadka was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Let's keep our fingers crossed that this is for the better, right? Because
Most
this
definitely.
is an important moment in the world.
Very much so. And I'm Jan Szrewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news and updates.